SaaS Insiders, welcome to this episode of our podcast. Today with me I have Ben Adler, and he's a CEO and the founder of Keyword Chef. And today we're going to talk about building a highly targeted audience for your SaaS. Now, Ben has been in the business for quite some time in the SaaS industry as well. So he'll be sharing with us some of the things that we can implement in our SaaS businesses to grow our audience the right way. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, Vlad. Thanks for having me.
A 2-minute version, could you give our audience a bit of an overview of your background, what you do, and
Yeah,
so on?
sure. So I'm a programmer myself. I do have a programming background. I went to school for programming. I got a job programming. And then during that time, I was building niche websites. And these are basically blogs around particular topics. So I had a website about camping, and I would make money from affiliate links and ad revenue. I was writing my articles. I was doing keyword research. But I've always wanted to have a software company. So I tried a couple ideas that did not work out. And then I started to go into, I wanted to do online courses. So I made a Facebook group. I built my audience, helping people to build niche websites and teaching them what I know. And then I learned that I didn't like making courses. It wasn't for me. I think it's a good business model, but I just didn't like doing it. So I stopped that. And then I figured, hey, I'm getting good at keyword research for bloggers and SEO. Why don't I automate what I'm doing manually and offer it to my group as a SaaS? So with my programming background, I spent 6 months programming, working with a beta group. I launched it to my group. And if you offer a good product to the right audience, that's a recipe for success. So that's where I am today. And Keyword Chef is my main focus at the moment.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations, first of all, and to the community as well, because we've got another tech founder joining the boat. The reason I love those kind of journeys is because tech founders are very analytical because we have technical backgrounds, right? So the moment we figure out the marketing, we can be super structured at it and we can optimize and it just clicks. The moment we figure it out, it just goes. So that's a really good story. You've mentioned that you were actually helping a community to do some build niche websites, for example, and then you saw a need in them and you create a SaaS around it, right? So we basically build an audience that we could sell the SaaS to. And why do SaaS founders even need to start building their target audience early? Why don't they need to start thinking about it and planning it beforehand?
Yeah, I think earlier the better. One is, well, there's two reasons I would say. The first is your community they're basically a group of buyers that trust you. So if you put the right offer in front of them, if they trust you, sales are going to be much easier. For me, I don't do any paid ads at the moment. It's all organic. And if you have a community, you're able to connect with other community owners. So that's like a networking opportunity, doing joint ventures, things like that. So a lot of organic marketing. And the second reason is to get feedback. When I was first building my products, there's a few members of my group that I really trusted, and I created a private Facebook group for them to be my beta users. So that all happened with building my own audience, is finding these people. So it's just a lot of people have trouble finding beta users from the very beginning, right? So this speeds up the process of going to launch a lot faster. And if you have a community, it's people can come in through the community. So it's another funnel for them. You can provide support in the community. You can get immediate feedback. Instead of sending out an email, you can just ask a group, hey, what do you think about this idea? Within an hour, you can get a bunch of replies. So it's instant feedback, which is hugely valuable for your SaaS business.
Absolutely. It's a common topic, especially for aspiring founders, for virgin founders who are just getting started on this journey. The questions they have is, okay, but how do I find customers, right? I built this app, but where are my customers? What do you think are the consequences when founders neglect building their audience early on and just go straight into product implementation? What do you think can happen to a business like this?
You mean skipping the audience phase, or?
Yes. If you skip the audience building part of it and just go straight to let me build a product first and then I'll figure this out.
You're basically building a product in a vacuum, and you don't know if what you're building is actually what the market wants. You might be right, especially if you're your own customer, but even if you know your industry really well, customers, they still work differently and they still have different workflows and they have different types of clients and businesses. You're skipping all that feedback if you don't build your own audience. So it's just a lot of extra work you're going to find product market fit a lot slower than someone else who has that faster feedback.
Does it bring any risks to a business at all? So, for example, in addition to just being slower, do I risk like losing my investment because I build the wrong thing, or like what are the consequences? Let's say if a founder specifically doesn't go and build their audience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if you have funding and you spend all your funding on a developer team and marketing to bring something to market, and it's the wrong thing, you just wasted all that time and money. That might have been your entire runway. So that could potentially kill your business right there if you used up all your resources.
Okay, interesting. Well, now that we've got an idea of why we should be building the audience and the risks associated with neglecting this, maybe you could share with us a little bit on what was your journey in finding your own audience? How did you nurture them? How to build a list of people that are willing to help you build this product, test it, and potentially buy it?
Like I said, I started with my own Facebook group. So how I built my group was I basically changed my cover photo in my profile to advertise my group. And then I just joined a bunch of other groups in my niche. And I just started helping people and answering questions. I wasn't spammy at it at all. Some people send like cold messages and things like that. I didn't do that. So I just was genuinely trying to help people, posting guides and case studies, and just become a valuable member of the community. And then people will start to friend you and they'll be familiar with you, and then you can invite them over to your group.
Do you think this is required for you to be the expert? I would say the top 1% of the industry, to know every person in the industry, to start building your own community, your own audience, or basically anyone could start doing that by just being valuable.
Yeah, you don't have to be an expert at all. Well, there's a lot of people who are smarter than me at like building blogs and doing SEO and keyword research, but those smarter people, they aren't helping people. So nobody's going to know about them, right? It's not how like smart you are, it's how helpful you are. Yeah, so as long as you're able to like help someone with their journey, they'll trust you.
SaaS Insiders, I want you to pick up those nuggets. It's not that much how smart you are, it's more how helpful you are. If I got this correctly, you don't need to know Bill Gates to bring your own audience. Like, you can start doing that by simply joining the communities and seeing how you can provide value to them, how you can support them. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be on Facebook either. It could be on forums, or it could be on Reddit. I've seen audiences built by other people on Reddit with SaaS products. If you know Ryan Fishkin from Moz, he wrote this book, Lost and Founder. He talks about how he built his own audience. He was helping people on forums. He started with consulting, and then he went to a SaaS company. But so his like entire business was built on helping people in forums, which is really cool. And he talks about it in this book.
Well, we'll definitely put that in the list of the recommended items for people to check out. So if I'm a founder, I should just go where my customers live. It might be Facebook, it might be forums, it might be Reddit, wherever they live. It might be LinkedIn. If they are B2B, especially big companies, we want to help. And we just provide value to them. We help them, we create some guides, we post some actionable content that people can use to help them grow.
Yeah, exactly. Twitter is another one. There's a lot of communities on Twitter as well. So just take your basics, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. You mentioned LinkedIn, which is also good.
But let's say I join some group and I just start providing value. How do I convert those people into my audience? How do I funnel them to my platform, to my group? How can I start building this group of people that are actually curious about what I'm doing?
Yeah, what I did is I started friending people. People started friending me. On my wall, I said, hey, if you're interested in learning to build niche websites, join my group. And that's how I seeded my group with the first 50 members. And if you already have like a newsletter, you can advertise your group in the newsletter too. If you go to Keyword Chef, like I advertise my Facebook group in my footer of my website. So I call this like a dual funnel. Like, people are coming into my landing page and they're joining my group, but they're also joining my group and then finding my landing page. So whichever way they come through, they grow each other.
So it's like a two-way, basically.
Yeah.
They find Facebook group, they can see your website. If they see your website, they can join the group. So
exactly.
Like you're going into buckets at the same time. Okay.
And Facebook will actually advertise your group to like other similar groups members. So it's like free advertising. Like, Facebook is advertising your group for free, which is really cool. Some people might find the group and then become a paying customer.
Okay. So we've kind of discussed how to get those first 5, 10, 15 people to join the group. What do you do from there? Like how can you make it more, how you can add dozens, hundreds, potential thousands of new members joining your audience? Like how do we scale it from there? Because I think maybe if we continue doing manual, it might be not as efficient if we do it exactly the same. So
Yeah.
maybe you could show that a little bit more strategies on how to do that.
So in the beginning, your group is not going to be very active just because it doesn't have a lot of members. So in the beginning, you as the group owner are going to be you're going to be responsible for the activity in the group. So you have to be very active. You want to answer everyone's questions, just because if someone comes to your group and if they don't get helped in your group, they're going to go to a different group. So you want to keep them coming back to your group. So it's making sure people are taken care of in your group and just help them out. Even if you don't know the answer immediately, maybe you can do a couple of minutes of research and just provide like really detailed, helpful answers that show that you genuinely care about helping these people. So I think empathy is a huge part of communities. There's some groups they're always trying to push their products. There's a lot of promotional posts in there. But if you simply just help people, that they'll trust you and they'll become customers eventually. Yeah, so just people want to know how I build my group fast or how do I build my audience fast. I don't think there is a good way to build it fast. Like there might be, but I'm more of like a slow and steady approach. So I've had my group for a few, like maybe 4 years. It has like 10,000 members in it. I mean, it took 4 years to get to that point, It's a slow process, but it's something that you want to keep steady with.
There's a big difference between like 10,000 people with 30% engagement and 10,000 people with like 2% engagement, right? Because the group can be of the same size, but totally different outcome, both in terms of research data, but also revenue for your product.
That's a very good point. I've seen groups that, they're 100,000 members, but they're super spammy. Their target audience is off, It's not a very helpful group for your product in that regard.
Sometimes when you join those groups, it almost feels like threatening when you join them and there's all of the spam. Just join this, join that.
Yeah.
Here's my offer, buy this, right? And it's like that's not helpful at all.
No.
So I love your approach of helping people one by one, improving their lives and making them stick. What do you think would be the signs for me as a founder to understand that I'm doing the right thing? So let's say I'm following the process, I'm adding value to people, I'm inviting them to my group. How do I know my audience is growing in a healthy way? How do I measure that? Are there any metrics, any kind of reference points?
I think it's based on the feedback you'll get. Like a lot of people in the beginning, I put a lot of effort into my group in the beginning, but I've had people tell me it's one of the best groups on Facebook. That right there was a good sign. So I would write these very in-depth guides. I just like pour everything in my brain into like this guide, and I would put it as a pinned post in my group. So when people join, they're like, wow, look at all this helpful information. They're like blown away. They'll leave feedback on that and you'll know that you're doing the right thing. Is based on feedback.
And that feedback in terms of like comments to your posts, DMs, right?
Yeah, all of that. Any kind of feedback, any praise that you get about your group, how helpful it is, and things like that.
Man, if you were to give one like most important advice to founders or to our listeners to build their audience, what that advice would look like?
I think consistency is huge. Like people start out with a big bang, but they quickly fizzle. For someone to trust you, you have to be in the industry for a while, right? You can't just be here and there. And I have an unwritten rule that I don't work with anyone unless they like have been in the industry for at least a year. Because I've seen people come and they want to promote their course or YouTube video. The next month they're completely gone. I mean, how can you trust a person like that, So showing up every day, being consistent, being helpful, that's my number one tip for growing an audience.
That's really important. I know myself when I try as founders to promote ourselves, like when we're recording some YouTube videos, it's much easier to record 5 videos per day than record record one video for the 30 days. Because it sounds like it's less work and you kind of can like stretch it out to the whole month, but it's more about coming back to this, and it just feels it's much different. So I totally appreciate it.
Exactly, that's a good point.
Ben, it's really important for SaaS Insiders to meet you as well a bit on a personal level, because we're building a community of people and we want to know each other a bit better. Just a couple more personal questions to learn more of you as a person. When it comes to you spending your time outside of work, what do you think are the activities that get you in the flow state? What makes you detach from your work and actually have some free space in your mind.
I think that's really important. You can't be working, well, you could, but you might get burned out if you are working 24/7 all the time. Weekends, I take off from work typically, just to like relax and reset myself. So I like to go camping, and that's a good reset. Just being out in nature and being away from my work environment completely, being away from the laptop, and just like relaxing and having fun for a couple of days. That for me is a good reset. And then I go to the gym a few days a week, and that's like, it's good to get out of the house for me because I work from home. But the gym is like, you just lift weights. You don't need to think about anything. It's very simple. So when you're at the gym,
Got it. You're working with your body, so your brain can kind of relax at the moment.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate. This is something we probably are aligned on the nature, because that's one of the few things that get me out of my work state in my mind. Because when I eat, I think about work. When I shower, I think about work. Even when I do some other stuff, which I'm not going to tell you, I'm still thinking about work sometimes, right? And I've been talking to mentors, and they're asking like, how much do you work? And I said, well, I try to keep 5 days per week because my wife helps me achieve that, because otherwise I would be working 7 days a week. And they said, well, maybe your wife should be running the business then instead of you, because she gets it. You need to kind of disattach from the work.
Yeah.
So it's we're on the same page here. Other thing is, what's the one piece of advice you would give to younger self, maybe when you were just getting started on your SaaS journey, or even a bit before that? Let's say 2, 3, 5 years ago, if you were to travel back in time and tell Ben one very important piece of advice, what that would be?
It's kind of funny because you can't learn lessons unless you make mistakes sometimes. So it's all part of the journey. But one thing I would tell myself was to like go into a market I understand and familiar with. So one SaaS company, I tried to build a product for car dealerships, but I didn't know anything about car dealerships. I've never worked in one. I didn't know anyone who did. I didn't have any sales experience. So I was trying to sell to car dealerships, and it was a very uphill battle for me because I didn't understand the market at all. I was competing with all these other vendors who did know the market, who did have sales experience. So I was like, it was hard for me to produce content even because I didn't know what I was talking about, right? So audience building was that much harder for me. So that was a good lesson for me, is like, stick to what I know and avoid unfamiliar markets.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're trying to build a solution for a problem you don't understand yourself. It's like, let's solve this imaginary problem that I think is there, but we'll figure this out, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at all these solutions of people crushing it, and yours kind of similar, but something was missing probably, right, at that time.
There was a lot of challenges. Basically, it was a widget for their car dealership website, but they already have a bunch of widgets already on the website. I was competing for like space on their website. I was competing against these other vendors. These general managers were getting called like 100 times a day from other vendors. So it's like, how do I even contact these people? And there's like better, more professional people like targeting them a lot more than I am. So
yeah, the red ocean is what they call it.
Yeah. It was a red ocean.
Oversaturated, cutthroat business. People are competing on price. And
no audience. Like
I see. Okay. SaaS Insiders, make sure you go into market you understand, or learn the market before you go into that, because that'll give you an edge and understanding of a problem and the audience you solve this problem for. And then you can apply the teachings that Ben has been sharing with us in building the audience. And from that, we can move on with scaling our SaaS. What are one of the biggest challenges that you're currently facing as a founder of Keyword Chef? And what are the things that others can help you with? In this community, we have a lot of people, technical backgrounds, non-technical backgrounds, fundraising, VCs. So a lot of people are listening. And what would be the things you need help with so people can get in touch?
Things I struggle with right now. One, I'm just like a solo founder. I'm doing everything at the moment. Marketing is not my strong point. I talk about audience building, but like it wasn't until much later where I actually sent like a newsletter to my audience. So like branching out from outside my audience in terms of marketing. And then there's like some programming challenges I'm facing where like I'm working with a lot of big data. I have an SEO tool. So there's a lot of keywords and a lot of data. And it's just like, how do I process that data more efficiently? So that's what I'm currently working on right now, which I'm pretty close to finishing up. So those would be two challenges I'm facing.
So the marketing side, outside of building an audience and
Yep.
some technical help. Are you looking for more like a co-founders or just someone who could help you with this, like as a one-time thing?
I'm open to both. I think a co-founder would be very tricky for me just because I'm so used to working solo. I would need the right person that I really trusted who shared my vision.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand. I
So
understand.
I'm that's a normal, I think it's a normal mindset.
Oh yeah, of course, especially when you get started yourself and you do it for 1, 2 years, you kind of get used to things to having full control, right? And then someone comes into your business and you kind of need to trust them on running the marketing
Yeah.
side of it, which kind of produces clients. And how do I do that?
It's a
That's
lot
the
of
tricky
trust.
part.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course, the right person. It's super easy to get a partnership. It's super hard to get out of it. So we gotta make a decisions, right? What do you think will be the three most valuable resources people could get to elevate their SaaS business? One of them you mentioned is Lost and Founder,
Yep.
which we're putting on the cover of this episode. What are the other resources? It can be books, can be some podcasts, shows, some speakers, right? Maybe
Yeah.
mentors. Anyone really could that or anything that they could provide value to people.
Another book I really liked was Getting Real by Basecamp. You can get it for free. You can download it for free. They have a PDF, but I must have read that book like 4 times, and it talks about how to build like simple opinionated software that works really well, how to go to market quicker, and just like cut all the BS out of your development and just like get down to business to have something that works really well. I think at the time it was kind of like groundbreaking because a lot of people, they did not have remote teams, back in the day and things like that. So it's more like normal now, but I think when it first came out, it was like very groundbreaking. But it has a lot of principles in that book too that I really enjoyed. And the third resource I would say are just like Facebook groups. If you have a question about email provider or payment processor, a lot of Facebook groups will give you help that you need based on your question.
Mhm.
I've connected with a lot of people inside SaaS Facebook groups that have gave me some really good tips for my business in terms of tech.
Okay, okay. Any other recommendations? Any other sources, resources?
That's it. I mainly stick to like a small world, if you will.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome. SaaS Insiders will be putting those in the comments in the description for the episode, so you can check out the books and more recommendations from Ben. But one thing is I'm always curious about is what does success mean to you? Of course, at different stages of us discovering ourselves as entrepreneurs, as founders, as wives and husbands, right? Fathers and mothers. We all change what success means for us. But at this stage of your life, maybe it's business related, personal related. There is no right answer. What do you
Yeah.
think what success means to you at this stage of your life?
Before I first had a SaaS business, I always put like a money value, but I learned like once you have more money, like that becomes the new normal for you. And then you just like want more money. So as I grow personally, like I think like personal, like learning to be myself and like doing what I want in life without like actually going after what I want and like being happy. That's success for me.
So success is doing what you love
Yeah.
from day to day.
For an example, like a lot of times I daydream about moving to like the warm climate and or something. And it's like, well, I could technically do that now. So I'm like, am I holding myself back by not doing those things? Having like no restraints, just like doing what I want, that would be like success for me. Not holding myself back.
Got it, got it. So it sounds like there's also like the psychological side to it, right? It's
Yeah,
more
definitely.
like unchaining yourself and doing what you really want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Ben, where would be the best place for founders and other listeners of our podcast to connect with you? Any place where you could drop your message, call you, send you an email to learn how they can support you, or maybe seek help from you if they want to learn more.
Yeah, so I mentioned Facebook a lot. You can find me on Facebook, or you can email me, ben@keywordchef.com. I read every message that comes through, so don't think you're bothering me if you have a question.
We'll put those in the description to the episode so people can get in touch. Ben, any last thoughts, any last word on our topic today?
No, just be like authentic, just help people, and that will get you very far, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. SaaS Insiders, it's been Ben Adler and how to craft a highly targeted audience for your SaaS. Ben, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.